Let's follow Abdul as he performs an OSHA inspection process.
I see him walking around his lift. What is he looking for?
Abdul will use his OSHA inspection card, walk around the lift, noting any damages around the unit. He will also check for any leaks or fluids underneath his forklift. Abdul will then enter the forklift and start to verify his power equipment responsibilities. He will verify that his lights work correctly, that his horn works correctly, that his hydraulics work correctly, and then Abdul will move his forklift in a forward motion and backwards motion to check the brakes.
I see. And if I find any issues during the inspection, what should I do?
That's a great question. Note on the card any problems with the lift, and remember to immediately contact your supervisor if there are any safety violations. So let's shadow Lionel as he starts to perform his job function 35. Do you remember what supplies Lionel should have?
Yes, for this function he should have with him a pen or a pencil, tape to reseal cartons, and an approved safety cutter for removing shrink wrap where necessary.
So, do you remember what work we perform under function code 35?
Yes, this function is to be used by associates picking partial pallet orders from any rack location using a reach or fork truck. The picker will retrieve work assignments from an assignment area. The associate retrieves a pallet from a reserve location and transports the pallet to various induction points in the conveyor system. The required number of cartons are labeled and tossed onto the conveyor. The remaining cartons on the pallet are returned to a reserve location, and this process is repeated until all tasks are complete.
That's great. Well, let's watch Lionel actually perform his work functions. So let's observe Lionel as he performs function code 35. He has taken the most efficient travel path to his destination location. He will proceed to pull the pallet that is indicated on his assignment sheet. And Lionel will now scan a carton label from his assignment and scan the license plate in the lower right-hand corner of the pallet one time. Lionel will complete the pull down and he will travel to the drop-off location. So let's watch Lionel as he performs his work at the drop-off location. Lionel will remove the pallet bands, place on the appropriate hook, and he will begin to label and toss cartons to the conveyor belt in a motivated manner. It's important that we label our cartons correctly. Let's review our label handling procedures. Label handling is an important part of our job functions. It's important we do not use labels if the print quality is poor. Poor printed labels will not make it through our merge successfully. We should not use labels that have folds, wrinkles, or tears. We want to ensure every case gets to the customer. We should not have labels that overhang on a carton. Overhanging labels can sometimes come off the box. And we should not place labels on the carton seams. We need to ensure our labels stay flat to the top of the case. Any carton greater than 30 inch, place the label on the leading edge of the carton in the direction of the conveyor. This will ensure the carton can move through the building successfully. So now let's watch Lionel as he completes his work assignment. Lionel is working at a good pace. He is ensuring that his labels are adhered to the carton correctly, placing the cartons low and flat on the belt. Lionel will now take the pallet back to the reserve location that it was pulled from. Let's observe Lionel as he travels back. Lionel will now proceed back to the original reserve location. He is always aware of his surroundings. He will return the pallet to that location safely, ensuring the pallet is stable. So let's review Lionel as he starts his next assignment. He will scan a carton label. He will scan the LPN. and Lionel will now proceed to take the pallet to the drop-off location. Look how he's following great safety techniques by looking both ways entering into a travel aisle. Now let's observe Lionel as he goes to the drop-off location, and he will return to labeling and tossing his cases long and low on a belt. Carton handling is an important part of his job. Let's review. So, do you remember the keys to our carton handling?
I do. You should always inspect for damaged or open cartons and retape when necessary. You should pick and place multiple cartons at a time when possible to increase your productivity. You should never toss the carton with the LPN unless it's the last carton on the pallet. You should always toss your cartons long and low to the conveyor, and always ensure your labels are faced up and in good condition. Now, let's return to Lionel finishing up the pallet.
Now let's observe Lionel as he completes his work. He is practicing good housekeeping. He has ensured that he left the bottom carton from the left-hand side of the pallet because it contains the LPN, which will be needed for the next assignment. Lionel also has responsibility to recognize opportunities to take small balance volume to small balance reserve locations. He will scan the license plate. He will proceed to a small balance reserve location. He will now scan the location where he will take the 4 cartons to, and he will proceed to manually load the 4 cartons. He will ensure that the LPN is in the bottom right-hand corner to be used for the next assignment. Lionel is demonstrating great teamwork by utilizing a small balance location for lower volume freight. After he has completed his work, Lionel will now proceed to drop off the empty pallet in a designated empty pallet lane. These are all important parts of teamwork for our company. Lionel will now proceed back for his next assignment.
In the last few minutes, we've heard a lot about safety, quality, and productivity. Which methods will make me the most successful as I start to do the work?
That's a great question. Safety is important to all of us. We must always perform OSHA inspections completely. Only drive equipment that we're licensed to drive. And be aware of conveyors that start without warning. You also should never stand or walk on conveyors. And always follow safe lifting guidelines. And it's important you're always aware of your surroundings. It's important for all of us to follow the DC guidelines for clearing jams when necessary.
So what about quality?
Quality is important for us to do our job to service our stores and customers. We should always tape open cartons when necessary to ensure that we don't damage product. We should never toss damaged cartons. And always confirm the balance remaining in the reserve locations to ensure we keep our inventory accuracy. And it's critical we never use poor quality labels. Labels with print issues will not make it through our shipping sorter correctly.
Well, that's good stuff. So what about productivity?
Productivity is important to all of us. It's important that we work at a motivated pace at all times to reach productivity goals. It's important that we work bell to bell and follow the most efficient travel path when moving through our aisles. It's important that we handle multiple cartons whenever possible. It's a great way of reaching high productivity. And be engaged during your startup meetings. Offer suggestions for continuous improvement and recommendations that could help your team in the building. And it's also important that we effectively handle small balance freight as we return small balance volume to the reserve locations.
That's great info. I'm ready to get started.
Great. Let's move on.